Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
How are you?
Good.
Great. What is the degree of this group? Is it this?
This.
Slightly this? Or slightly shaky this? Or is it firm this?
Firm this.
You're lying. So those who don't know me, not that I'm great, I'll still introduce myself. My name is Dushyant and I'm a full-time international teacher for the Art of Living since 1999. You know, very interesting, yesterday or day before, I think this happened in the Union Cities Satsang. This came to my mind how, if you notice, the last 8,000 years of this planet has been very interesting. Some 7 or 8 very big avatars took birth in just 8,000 years. And how each of them came at different times with a different message without conflicting anything. They just came and completed the work of the one before them. Very beautiful. Want to hear that?
Yes.
Sequence of how, there is a beautiful video of Guruji called Dashavtar. Have you heard it? So listen to that. It's very beautifully explained how the 10 avatars of Vishnu came one after another. It stopped at Buddha and Kalki. Now, if you look at the last 8,000 years, 8,300 years of this planet, because that is the recorded evidential history we have. Before that, who came, who went, we don't have much other than myths and other than stories about it, we don't know much. But from Rama onwards, everything was very well documented and recorded about their life. The Ram Setu is there, and Rameshwaram is there, where you can see the Linga also. See, when Rama was born, and Rama was there, you know about Rama, no? The Yoga Vasishtha, how he goes for a tour of India and then he comes back very depressed, and then Yoga Vasishtha takes place. See, at the time of Rama, there was a lot of richness, lot of money in India, in that part of the world. So much of wealth and so much of comfort and so much of luxury. So when there is too much of comfort and too much of luxury, what happens? You lose discipline in life. See, if there is too much of money, then you do buy a lot of things. You have maids at home, and the maids cook so much of food, and you eat so much of food. And all that luxury, you lose your discipline of life. How much to eat, what to eat. You don't do any fasting, because so much is available for comfort. Too much of comfort takes away discipline in life. Isn't it? So when Rama came, there was so much of comfort. So the whole Rama's life was about discipline only. He advocated to have only one wife. Rama was called Maryada Purushottam, a dignified being, be a dignified person. He was known to be very disciplined. In whatever he said, whatever he did, he only flowed with dharma. Whatever was necessary for dharma, he did it. He even made his wife go through fire again for the sake of dharma. So that was Rama's life, to uphold discipline in life. Isn't it? So what do we take from his life? What should you take from Rama's life? Having discipline. See, all of us want freedom in life, right? We want so much of freedom. Nobody should, कोई हमें टोकना नहीं चाहिए, हमें कोई रोकना नहीं चाहिए. Everything we should be able to do the way we want to do. Having too much of freedom without discipline can create misery. And having too much of discipline without freedom in it can also create misery. Freedom and discipline should be balanced, and that is what was Rama's life. There's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of flow, a lot of love. He allowed everybody to go. At the same time, he commanded the discipline so well. So that is one. So when we say dignified and being disciplined, is what? Now, being dignified in your actions, being dignified in your words, in being dignified in your thoughts also. Ask yourself a question, are you dignified? In whatever you say, whatever you do, are you really dignified? Huh? We end up talking here to there, there to here, so much verbal diarrhea we have every day. Isn't it? Just look to your words, just observe your words for a day. See how much unnecessary words we speak for unnecessary topics, unnecessary reasons. It's not uplifting anybody, doing no good to anybody also. Isn't it? So Rama restored that principle of discipline. Have discipline, have some dignity in what you do. Whatever you do. I mean, if you look at Guruji, his dignity impersonified. Isn't it? So dignified in whatever he does. Even if he cracks a humor, cracks a joke, that joke has so much of dignity in it. Isn't it? Yes, no?
Yes.
See, normally when we become humorous, we are no longer dignified. Have you noticed the masti mein chale jate hain, when you are having too much fun, you lose dignity in that fun. Isn't it? Being dignified in whatever you do, whatever you speak, how you move in life. I normally say that being sensitive to others' discomfort and inconvenience can bring a lot of dignity in you. Make sense? What did I say? Sensitive towards others, discomfort and inconvenience can bring so much of dignity inside you. Isn't it? Brings so much of perfection, so much of discipline inside you. Yes?
Yes.
This is first step. This is what we need to learn from Rama's life. Now, whatever action you take, just look around you. Are people comfortable? Am I causing any inconvenience to anybody's mind? Am I causing discomfort to anybody's mind or their physical space? Then you take an action. And that brings so much of perfection in whatever you do also. Rama was a perfectionist. Why? Because he had a lot of discipline in whatever he did. Very sensitive towards everything. Isn't it? His life was like that. So that's the first thing. Be sensitive towards people's discomfort and
Inconvenience.
that brings a lot of discipline in your action. Isn't it? Then came Krishna. When Krishna came, see, too much of discipline can make you very rigid. Isn't it? See, if there is too much of discipline, what happens? It become very tight. Now, if you look at people in military, they have no charm, no juice in life. Isn't it? 6:03, get up. 6:05, you should have finished bathroom. 6:09, you should be dressed. 6:11, you should be in the parade field. 6:13, you should. Too much of rigidity, too much of discipline can make you very stiff, very tight inside. There is no joy in life, isn't it? So after Rama left a legacy of being disciplined, people became very rigid over time. Over the 3,000 years of transition of human life, Rama was praised the most. And everybody became so tight and so disciplined that the juice of life went off. People could hardly smile, the friendliness went away. Your ability to connect with people goes down if you are too rigid and tight. Now, if you go to a party and you see somebody very stiff and very tight and grumpy face, would you want to go and connect with them? Huh? No, right? You want to connect with people, those who are smiling, they're relaxed, they're happy and joyful. Yes, no?
Yes.
Now, think about how many times you've gone to a party and what face you carry. And then you think, why are people not connecting with me? Why only certain people are attracting everybody? I'm sure so many other people might be so jealous of Guruji also. And one man is a rock star. How he attracts people is just amazing. And what is that attraction? Lack of rigidity, simplicity, that state of relaxed being. That is what the charisma is in simplicity, not in rigidity. Got it? So when Krishna came, he saw there was so much of rigidity. He said, okay, drop it. Forget about everything, come let's dance. Krishna brought a whole wave of celebration. Isn't it? When you're too tight inside you, put some good music and dance. That's what you need to do. Isn't it? I dance almost every day. I have a huge collection of nice Hindi songs. Lot of Art of Living bhajans are quite boring also, so I don't play them that much. But some of them are really good. So play some nice bhajans which can uplift you. Play some nice music, Hindi song, whatever suits your ear. Keep a life with some celebration in it. So when Krishna came, we saw so much of rigidity that Rama had created. He undid everything that Rama created and left. Rama stood with a bow, he came with a flute. Rama stood straight in discipline, he became bent and curvy. Rama said one wife, Krishna said forget about it, have fun. Completely altered the course of life. Isn't it? Very interesting. See, too much of rigidity can make you so tight inside. So Rama came with that strong, Krishna came with that strong message. Okay, let life be a celebration. No, have discipline, but have discipline in freedom, not freedom and discipline. So he came and altered the whole course. After Krishna left, what happened? People became excessively celebrative. After Krishna left, only all the prostitution and drinking, everything went to its peak. See, Vivekananda once said so beautifully, he said, somebody asked him, what is poison? He said, whatever is in excess is poison. Whatever you do more than it is required, it becomes poison. So this is what happened to this earth. When Krishna left, he created so much of celebration. He broke all the rules that Rama had. He in fact broke all the possible rules of governance also. He changed the whole direction because it was needed at that time. So after Krishna left came Buddha, 2000 years later again. When Buddha came, he saw people are so celebrated. And there is, when too much of celebration is there also, you lose joy. Isn't it? Say for example, you have a party at home. The first half an hour, 45 minutes is exciting. And then what happens? Please go home. I want my space back. I need some quietness in my house. It's enough. Isn't it? Even if it's a satsang. Okay, you came, 1 hour has passed, 2 hours has passed, all of you enjoyed. I opened my house, now I want my house back. So please make your way. That's why we, towards the end, now let's have food. Suddenly somebody will show up. The food is served downstairs. See, after every celebration, the mind naturally wants to become silent. Isn't it? You want space, you want quietness. You want to sit down by yourself for some time. You know, in Sanskrit there is a very beautiful word called ekant. Have you heard of this word? Ekant. See, the word ekant means let me be alone. And it is not an alone out of sadness or depression. It is involuntary alone. I want to be alone. Okay, I've heard enough. My senses have observed enough. Or my senses have drained enough of my prana. Now I want ekant. Now I want to sit quietly. That is meditation. So when Buddha came, he saw there was so much of celebration. He said, okay, you know what? Enough you've celebrated. Now come and sit quietly. Anyway, every celebration leads you to silence only. Isn't it? How long can you celebrate? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? See, celebration also has its own dignity. We've lost that dignity in celebration these days. I sometimes don't understand the people, they put such loud speakers inside the cars. And when they pass by, the whole town will be listening to the music. What is celebration in it? Your ear drums are crying out. You're still blowing the music so loud. The celebration also should be dignified. That is why we say, no, in our living, let every celebration have satsang in it. Let some dharma come out of it. Let some truth be spoken in every celebration. Then that is a celebration. So when Buddha came, he said, okay, enough. You have celebrated. Now sit and meditate. Enough you have lived in this celebrative mode. Gone back into such habits of luxury and comfort. See, Buddha, what he did, he gave begging bowls to even the kings and the prince. And said, okay, now you go and beg for something. Because that brings you back to the reality. So Buddha came with this beautiful element of meditation and silence and all those things. After Buddha immediately came Mahavira. Mahavira also saw that there's still so much of celebration, still so much of people absorbed into material life. So I said, okay, the only way to reach God is abandoning this material life of yours. Take the path of tapasya. Take the path of penance. So, you know, the whole Jain dharma, if you see, it's a path of penance only. Everything is painful. Don't eat good food, don't do this, don't do that. There's so many do's and don'ts. Why? So that the mind comes out of this material world and pain connects you with the self. When do you pray the most? When you are in pain. Isn't it? You will never remember God or thank God for your legs and hands and head and all. Only when you have a headache, oh God, please cure my headache. If not, we don't even remember we have a head. We are not even grateful that there is something called head which is letting your life function. So Buddha and Mahavira brought this whole element of silence and meditation and penance and all those things. Now after Buddha and Mahavira left, celebration, so if you then look at Rama installed discipline. That knowledge of discipline carried forward to the time of Krishna. Krishna said, let there be discipline. But this discipline should be a part of a larger freedom. Then that discipline is worth it. So he created such a large base of fun and celebration and all those things. And then in that he kept dharma in the freedom. And then so celebration was established, discipline was established by Rama, celebration was established by Krishna, and then came Buddha and Mahavira. They brought this element of silence and meditation and penance and all those things. Now after these three left, or these four left, came Jesus. Now when Jesus came, we saw there was already discipline, there was already celebration, there was already penance and meditation, and some rituals were established after Buddha. And of course the Vedic tradition had all the rituals also. So when Jesus came, he said, okay, what is the purpose of discipline? Celebration, silence, and all these things without love. So Jesus came with the strong message of love. You know, love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. And he came, all he did all his life was through love he healed, through love he died also. His entire life was about love alone, nothing else. And after Jesus left, came Adi Shankara. He said, okay, love is there, discipline is there, sadhana is there, practices. After Buddha, the sadhana came through. Sadhana is there, discipline is there, celebration is there, love is there. But what is it worth without knowledge? There has to be certain knowledge in you. Without knowledge, all these things are a waste. So Adi Shankara revived all the knowledge of the Vedas again. Because after Buddha and Mahavira, the whole Vedic knowledge went into hiding. In a sense, it was suppressed. People chose to change paths. The whole Vedic knowledge was lost. Almost. So, by the age of 32, Adi Shankara travelled east, west, north, south of entire India, established 4 mutts, 4 ashrams, established 4 of his disciples in these 4 mutts, and re-established the Vedic knowledge again for us. But after knowledge was also done, came Rahim. When Rahim came, he saw that, okay, knowledge is there. Everybody has knowledge. You know, in India recently I was traveling. There was a board in front of a temple. It said, "Kripya yahan gyan na baate, yahan sab gyani." Please don't share knowledge here. Here everybody is knowledgeable. There's a board outside a temple in India. So this became our state of life. Too much of knowledge, indigested, we start speaking everywhere. You know, knowledge has to be revered. See, whatever knowledge we gain from the Art of Living course, what do we do? You know, see, this volunteer, he should do the basic course again. He's still not accepting people and situations like that. Are you accepting that he is not accepting? You see it? Very interesting. The knowledge was never created for you to use it as a defense. Use it as a tool to attack. Isn't it? Knowledge was only created to protect you as a shield. Protect your mind from stress. Protect your mind from agitation. That was all the purpose of knowledge. But these days we use knowledge to create more agitation. Isn't it? Nowadays we are able to rattle people's mind with knowledge also. Otherwise also we rattle, with knowledge also we rattle. More. Isn't it? Yes, no. Purpose of knowledge is to use it as a shield for you. It shields your life. It shields your beautiful soul inside from getting into disharmony, getting into hatred, getting into dislikes. Purpose of knowledge is just that. I shared this on the first day, I think, the 4 components of knowledge. How many of you have heard it? The 4 components of knowledge. We should talk about it. Knowledge was never created for all these things. Nowadays we use it for a defense or attack. This is what we use it for. Be in knowledge. Don't be in a hurry to talk about knowledge to people. Be in knowledge first. If it's your experience, it will come naturally and it will flow through. Yeah? So after Adi Shankara came Rahim. And Rahim saw everything is there. In this world, everything is complete. Love was there. Knowledge was there. Discipline was there. Silence was there. Sadhana was there. There were some practices which were established. There was celebration also. What was missing? Seva. Seva was a missing component of this earth till Rahim came. Very beautiful. No? Now, what is the purpose of all the knowledge, all the love you have in you? the celebrative state of mind which is fully of high prana, mostly at others' cost. What is the point of all of it without all of that being of service to somebody else? What is the point? You do all the sadhana and then what? No, I think Guruji said this somewhere. I don't know if he said it or not, but I think he said it. Meditation is the most selfish act of life. It's the most selfish thing you can do. Why? Because in meditation only you are getting benefited, nobody else. So it is a very selfish act, isn't it? When you pray, meditate, you are only thinking about yourself. Okay, I want peace. I want to be stress-free. I want to be creative. I want to be skilled. I want to be intuitive. So I'll meditate. It's all about you. But seva is completely the opposite. Yet sadhana is required to create that mind which can do seva. Isn't it? Only if the mind is centered, the thought will come to help somebody else, to be of use in some way. So after that, Rahim said, all this is fine, it's great, it's needed. But what is the point without offering all of this to people? If you are in love all the time, what is the big deal? Loving yourself is ego also. Loving yourself too much is arrogance also. No. Love is created so that you can love everybody around you. So that is when Rahim came in. And he said, okay, be of service in whatever way you can. Then he turned around and there was once a beautiful couplet is there about it. It's Kabir's Doha actually. He asks Rahim. Rahim had this tendency, whenever he would serve, whenever he would give anything to anybody, he would look away. He would not look into the eyes of the person whom he is giving. Whatever he was giving, he would always look away and then give. So people got offended. Okay, you are doing some charity, you are a rich man, you are doing some charity. Are we such a scheduled caste or a low caste that you can't even look into our eyes and give it to us? Agreed, we are not as rich as you are, or we may be from a poor caste or whatever. That time caste creed was very high. And somebody questioned that to him. क्या हम इतने नीच जाति के हैं कि हमारी आंखों में आंखें डाल के भी दान नहीं दे सकते? Are we such a low, are we so low in your eyes that you can't even look into our eyes and give us what you're giving? And Rahim then turned his face around and he had 2 drops of tears in his eyes. And he said, जिस अल्लाह ने मुझे सब कुछ दिया है, उन्हीं की आंखों में आंखें डालकर उन्हीं को मैं कुछ वापस कैसे कर दूं? The Allah who has given me everything, how can I look into the eyes of that Allah and give him something so small back? Beautiful. When we do seva, our seva should be like this. Not for recognition, not for showing off, not for creating attention, not for wanting praises. But seva is an opportunity to give back to God what He has given to you. Purpose of all comforts in life is to make others comfortable. If your comfort is not bringing comforts to others, I tell you, your comforts will also not give you any comfort. Make sense? Purpose of all your comfort should make others comfortable. It is so strange how the human mind is. People have big mansions, 4 or 5 bedroom houses, and sometimes when we travel so much, this happened to me in one country. I called up, said we need a place to stay. We have my son coming from US, so unfortunately we can't host you this time. It's a 4 or 5 bedroom mansion, husband, wife and son. If our houses, our homes are not open for guests to come, for them to enjoy some peace, enjoy some comfort, I tell you, your home will also become 9 planets inside one house. You see what I'm saying? Every house, every room is a planet by itself. Have you ever wondered why it is like this? If there are 5 members of the house, you would hardly see each other twice, thrice a day. There is no unity. Why? Because nobody is coming to unite you. You're not sharing your comfort with anybody. People have beautiful, nice cars. Somebody asked, can you give me a lift? You know, I really would have loved to, which is a lie. I really would have loved to, but you know, I'm in a hurry, I need to go on the other side. With all this comfort given to you by God, if you're not able to take care of God's own people with that comfort, this comfort will not give you any joy. See, if you have a lot of good karma from the past, you can become rich. Not a big deal. But if the merits are not there, if these comforts are not shared, even if you're rich, those comforts will never bring you any joy. See, you may have a nice big house, it's a nice posh big car. There is no merit in life. You have such a terrible backache. Every time you sit in the car, your back will ache first. So there is comfort, but there is no joy in that comfort. Comfort is karma, joy is punya. Gaining karma is easy. Gaining punya is the challenge. Having karma will only keep the comfort intact. But without the punya, what is the point of all that karma also? People have a mansion but they can't sleep at night. What's the point? Tell me, what is the point? You have a nice big house, 4 or 5 bedrooms, beautiful bed and a TV coming out of the bed also. Spend so much of money. Orthopedic bed. Nice orthopedic bed and this and that. What is the point? End of the day, you close your eyes cannot close for more than 3 hours. Nightmares at night. So many worries, so much of anxiety, so much of tension. What is the point of all that comfort? And why hasn't all this comfort brought you any joy? Have you ever questioned? Why? Why is it that regardless of a job, regardless of children, regardless of a nice family, we are still so miserable? Why is it? Lack of punya. Karma has brought you some good stuff. There is having a car is karma. Ability to be comfortable and relaxing in it is punya. Comforts in life is to make others whatever you have in life share. Now, if you have this knowledge of the art of living, and if you don't share it, some good karma brought you to this course, you experience the kriya, and you feel nice, if you do it once a while at home. If you once a while get a chance, once in a month, 2 months, you do the short kriya once a month at least. On and off, you know, suddenly you're very stressed, okay, let me just do up my kriya now. Okay, there is too much of toxins in my body. Somehow pull yourself out at 8 o'clock in the morning, okay, let me do a long kriya, I can't stand anymore the heat in my body. No? Once, twice a month we get to do the short kriya also. So, see, if you have this knowledge with you and if you don't share it, what happens with that knowledge? It doesn't grow in you also. Yes, no. You know, it's like if you have a pond and if you throw any garbage in it, after 10 years also, the garbage will be still there. Isn't it? It won't go anywhere at all. Now, if you throw something in a flowing river, what happens? Everything moves. Nothing stays there at all. Isn't it? The mind is also like that. If knowledge is not flowing in the mind, we tend to automatically harbor the negativity. The negativity stays inside the mind for everything. The mind doesn't move. It becomes like this stagnant pond. Knowledge. Mind without knowledge creates stagnancy in the mind. So that is why we say, that go and serve. Serve in whatever way you can. See, it doesn't matter in what way. See, in the course also we say, responsibility. The more you take responsibility, the more you become. Only 1% remember. The more you take responsibility, the more you become powerful. Take responsibility. See what you can see. Look at Rahim. Such a beautiful soul. Just this ability to serve without wanting anything